in and just say this. I am not a doctor, never claimed to be, wanted to be, but never got there. Had to drop out of school for a few reasons, personal. But I'm not a nutritionist. I'm just a woman who got really sick. And when my own doctors couldn't help me, I stumbled on a system that I still use today that helped me get off of 13 different medications. And as a result of doing the system that I started for my diabetes and hopefully some weight loss, I found that all of the stuff above got better for me, and I started wondering why. So I started doing some research and figuring out what was happening, and also ran onto a book, which is not near me now, called Why We Get Sick by Dr. Ben Bickman. I have books all over the house. I read and study, and that's my thing, is connecting the dots so you guys don't have to wonder and suffer for years like I did. And hopefully it gives you some information to be able to start taking care of your own health, taking your health back into your own hands and understanding what's really going on, and that it doesn't require a ton of medications. So this morning, we're going to talk about your skin because so many people last week wanted to know about skin. So we're going to talk about wrinkles. We're going to talk about psoriasis and eczema. We're going to talk about skin tags and dark skin patches and even acne, and how all of those things are linked to insulin resistance. So just bear with me, please, as we go through this, because I am just a normal person like you guys. So I'm just trying to take the stuff that I've learned and pass it on so that everybody else can start to feel better too. All right. So all of those things, if you're suffering from any of them, what I need you to understand is that all of them have links to insulin resistance. It doesn't mean that insulin resistance caused it. I want to be really careful, and I want to be really clear about that. I'm not telling you that insulin resistance causes all of your skin issues, although some of them it does. So we're going to talk about all of that. Now, in order to understand that, you guys need to understand what insulin resistance is. And basically, it's too much insulin, which is a hormone, in your bloodstream too often, and your body starts to become resistant to it. Now, when we think about anything in the body, when we get too much of anything, whether it be a hormone, a protein, or an enzyme or anything, we start to get sick. Our body's like, whoop, that's too much. I can't deal with it. And it starts to shut down. So that's really what insulin resistance is. Now, how do we get there, right? What we need to understand is it's not that you're a flawed person. Can we stop all the gaslighting and the blaming and telling everyone that it's all their fault, that you're a bad person, or you're just not consistent enough, or you're just not, focused enough, or you're just, everything about your life is just crap and it's all your fault. It's not. So we've been set up. We've really been set up. Our food is no longer what it used to be. It doesn't give us the same nutrients as it used to. There are 3 top nutrients, and I cannot remember them now. I'm going to have to go back and find that because you guys, too much information in my head just. But there are 3 main nutrients due to non-crop rotation that are deficient over 50% of what they should be in our food. So if we're not getting the nutrients from our food in normal amounts that we should, and we're getting sick because we're not getting those nutrients, is it your fault? Is it your fault that the food that we have available is not getting us to the health we need to have? No, it's not. So we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about some of the things that are missing. Yes, there's a lot. I focus on insulin resistance. So I'm not an expert on any of the other things. I don't really feel like I'm an expert on insulin resistance. I just am a good mouthpiece to pass on information. So we have this negative food environment, this modern food environment that's not giving us the nutrients we need. Things like fibers, digestive enzymes, or proteins are all stripped from our food, and now our bodies just don't quite know what to do with the food that we're eating. It's allowing sugar to be converted in our system too quickly. So we have 3 macronutrients: carbohydrates, protein, and fats. Protein and carbohydrates turn into blood glucose in some part. Proteins about half as much as carbohydrates do. Fats don't really spike your blood sugars, so they don't really spike your blood insulin much. So we're going to look at proteins and fats, or proteins and carbohydrates. And what I want you to understand is if it's not a protein and it's not a carbohydrate, or it's not a fat, it is a carbohydrate. So yes, fruits and vegetables are carbohydrates. It's not just the breads and stuff. However, we can all agree that the refined sugars and stuff are causing a big part of the problem. At any rate, all of these foods are turning into glucose too quickly in our system, causing the spike of the need for the hormone insulin. And hormone isn't insulin. We're going to get into more of that. Way deeper than I wanted to go at the beginning of this, but look, too much food that turns into glucose too quickly causes too much insulin. Eventually that becomes insulin resistance. Now your body's shutting down. So let's dive into what happens to your skin with insulin resistance. So I have a number of things I want to talk about. Not so much, I can tell you a little bit about psoriasis and eczema, but you guys want to hear about skin tags or wrinkles first? Skin tags 1, wrinkles 2. Tell me which one you want to hear about first. What's degrading your skin or what's causing the skin tags? If it's skin tags, give me a 1. If it's wrinkles and what's happening to your skin, why it's sagging, give me a 2. Okay, so let's start with the skin tags. And then we're going to go right into the wrinkles, because that was one of the things that really hit me. So you guys, I want you to understand too, like, I don't feel I'm perfect. I don't feel like I'm any like great big whatever for this program, the system, this getting my insulin resistance down. But look, I turned 60 in 2 weeks. Would I have ever thought that my skin would be as healthy as it is on the verge of turning 60? No. Are there people who look better than me? Yes. Are there people whose skin is sagging worse than me? Yes. But the clue is that I found the thing called insulin resistance. Now, skin tags. I started having skin tags at the age of around 40, and I just thought, okay, I'm getting to that age where I'm about to be a grandma. It's normal. My grandma had them. My mother had them. So skin tags are just part of aging. Do you guys think that skin tags are just part of getting older? It's what happens to your skin when you get older. Give me a 1 if you think that skin tags just happen as you get older. Hey, RJ. You're my first viewer over on YouTube. Thank you, RJ. I'm on YouTube, a couple of channels on Facebook, and here on TikTok for this morning. So skin tags are not just a sign of age. You guys, if you're having skin tags after 40 and you just think it's just because I got older, would you like to know that at the age of 60, I don't have one single skin tag on my body anywhere? At the age of 45, I had them in my arm, under my arms, in my groin. They were starting on my neck. So how is it that at the age of 45, I had skin tags on those 3 areas? At the age of 60, I have not one. It's because I addressed my insulin resistance. So let's talk about how insulin resistance is causing that. And welcome in to everyone who's jumping in. I appreciate you all, and I'm excited to bring this to you. This is not what I talk about a lot, so forgive me as I kind of bounce around a little bit, but skin tags. So when we talk about insulin resistance, and if you are new to me, this may be the first time you've heard it. If you're not, you're going to know that I've talked about insulin resistance. Some cells are just shut down. They're like, nope, I can't deal with you, not doing this anymore. There are other cells in the body, because insulin delivers energy to every single cell. Some cells are what I call drama queens. They take up way too much insulin. They're bringing in so much that it's causing other things to go wrong in the body. With skin tags, you have a skin cell called keratinocytes. And you guys, I was getting this a little bit wrong for the last 2 years, so I want to talk about that. Keratinocytes are what give your skin structure. Okay, so when insulin resistance happens and we have too much insulin in our system all the time, those keratinocytes are taking up too much insulin. They're some of the drama queen cells. So you would think that if they're taking up too much insulin, it's causing stronger skin cells, stronger skin structure. But what happens is, with insulin resistance insulin being so prevalent, those cells start to break down and they don't function as well. Now you have little pockets of skin that are kind of poking out, and they're like sagging out of your skin, called skin tags, because the structure is damaged because of too much insulin and those cells taking up too much of it. So if you get your insulin resistance under control, the skin takes can go away. You don't have to have them burned off. You don't have to have them lasered off. You don't have to have them rubber banded or any of those other crazy things. By the way, if you do those things and you're not taking care of the insulin resistance, you're just going to get skin takes back in other areas as those skin cells start to break down again, that skin cell structure. So I hope that makes sense. Do you guys have questions about any of that so far? Skin takes are just a breakdown of the skin structure caused by too much insulin in your system. And links, that's an amazing question. And I love it because, yes, you can have insulin resistance and have regular blood sugar. We understand that I was probably insulin resistant for about 40 years before I ever became diabetic. So I was having all of these symptoms. All of this stuff was going wrong in my body, kept going to the doctor. Blood sugars were normal. A1C was normal. Lipids were normal. And I'm like, hey, I'm a picture of health. I don't know why all this is going on. And then it seems like one day, just one day, it went, oop, we're over the edge. A1C is going up. Fasting blood sugars are going up. Lipids are going up. And then once they started to go up, it was like just every time I had them done, they were going up, 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 up. So insulin resistance is the root of prediabetes and diabetes, but it may not show up in your blood work for 10 to 14 years. And for me, like about 40, because I was active enough that it just didn't show up. And I'll explain why. So, and castor oil does great things, but you've also got to make sure that you're taking care of your insulin resistance because they can come back. So how do you find out if you have insulin resistance? Great. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to go back to wrinkles. So you guys, in my playlist on TikTok, still haven't gotten it done on YouTube, guys. I got to write that down because I forget stuff. But there's a how to tell playlist. There's only 2 videos in there now. I'm not going to go back and put old videos in there. I'm just going to recreate them. But there are 2 videos in there. So the top 5 ways to tell that you're insulin resistant for me are if you have high blood pressure, so 130/80 or higher, you have insulin resistance. There's a number of reasons why. I'll talk about blood pressure later this week. If you have skin tags or dark skin patches called acanthosis nigricans, those are signs of insulin resistance. Why? Those skin tags are being caused by too much insulin, right? I just explained that. We're going to talk about the others in a minute. So high blood pressure, skin tags, dark skin patches. Then, ladies, if you have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, that's a sign that you're insulin resistant. If you have that, yes, you have a genetic disposition to be that, but the insulin resistance is what caused it to be active in your body. Understand that. And erectile dysfunction, it's all about blood flow, gentlemen. And if you're not getting proper blood flow, you're not having erectile function. So it also affects your testosterone levels and your fertility too. So those are top 5 ways. Now, if you need clinical ways, there's if you go to my playlist, there's a new calculation out, and it has to do with some lab work. It would require you to order a new lab test. Go watch that video, and that will give you an idea of how. Now, if you have lab work, your annual lab work, and you have a pen and paper out, write this down. I'm going to do this video later this week, but this calculation, there's a calculation I'm going to give you right now. So you want to find your lipid panel on your blood work, and you're going to find your triglyceride level, and you're going to find your HDL, not your LDL. The LDL is what we're worried about. The HDL is what we want to talk about. So you want to take your triglyceride number. Mine was like right under 200, about 197. And you want to take your HDL number and you want to divide that. So my triglycerides were about 197. My HDL seemed fine at about 40. But if you divide 197 by 40, you're going to get a number higher than 3. And that would tell you that you're insulin resistant. And it also tells you that you're at risk for heart problems, okay? If your number is 1.5 or lower, you're likely insulin sensitive. You're more likely to be healthier. But I've found people who've said that number, and that's listed by the NIH, by the way, National Institute of Health here in the US. You can find that number there. But 1.5 or lower, you should be okay. 1.5 to 3, you need to start taking a look at it and start addressing it before it gets bad enough to be diabetes. 3 or higher, you've got a problem. So that's the calculation. Sally says, at the age of 65, I always wondered why you still get acne. You've been watching diet, eating gluten-free, and notice your skin is so much better, and you can tell when you've eaten gluten. Gluten is a problem for many of us because it's inflammatory for some of us. And why, though? There's a number of reasons why gluten can be inflammatory. Glyphosates that are on the gluten that's the Roundup, right? Roundup toxicity is real, guys. It doesn't all wash off. It doesn't all go away, and you're ingesting that. So a lot of our wheat has Roundup on it, and so the glyphosates are causing problems with you. But there are also some sensitivities leaning towards celiac that happen when your gut is unhealthy, and your gut is unhealthy because you're not getting in enough fiber in your system. So there's those two things. Now let me see what else is going on over here. Can you have insulin resistance but low urine? Okay, can you find out if you have, yeah. So I just told you guys now that other test, which is even more accurate than the triglycerides by HDL, is in my playlist. Go find that one. It has to do with something called a HOMA, HOMA, insulin resistant test, and your fasting blood sugar levels. Okay. Yeah, so the calculation again, is going to be triglycerides divided by HDL. You are aiming for something below 1.5. Really just think about anything over 1.5 as you need to start addressing it. And I'm so glad, like I use castor oil as well. So I'm a proponent of that, but I'm also a proponent of understanding the root cause. And castor oil is not addressing the root cause. It's helping you with the symptom, but it's not addressing the root cause as far as skin takes go. So let's get back to the skin talk. We were talking about wrinkles. Grammy and a couple of other people wanted to know about wrinkles. So let's talk about how insulin resistance is causing wrinkles. So a number of sources. I'm going to talk about Dr. Young. If you don't know who he is, he's a plastic surgeon. He's all over TikTok and social media. He's a Korean. He works here in the U.S., but his ethnicity is Korean. But he was talking about, let's talk about collagen, the thing that holds your skin together. So your skin is made up of a protein called collagen and elastins. So what Dr. Young said is collagen is like these logs. So if we take a look at a log house, you put a log house together and you fit all these logs together. So that's your collagen, right? And when you first build the house, the joints are all tight. Everything is good. It's really got a great structure. But over time, those logs start to dry out and they start to separate and they start to break down. And now you have gaps in the logs and you got to go back in and chink them again. You got to go back in, you got to fix them. And all the while it's deteriorating. That's your collagen. Over time, your collagen starts to deteriorate. Protein, we need protein to help build that collagen. We're deficient in it. Most of us are not focusing on getting in enough protein. But the other part of it is this. When we're eating so much sugar, whether it's refined sugar or sugars from foods that we think are healthy and it's converting too quickly and not allowing normal absorption of it, those sugars that are inundated in the bloodstream start attaching to your collagen cells, right? So that collagen, the protein collagen, when those glucose attaches to it, it starts to break down how the collagen acts. Now you're having this further breakdown in the logs. Now your skin is wrinkling, your skin is sagging, and it just doesn't have that good, healthy structure. So as we age, that's normal. If you want to, you're very welcome about the calculation. If you have a score of 2.43, if you hit 3, you're probably about diabetic by then. So that's why this calculation is great, because it can tell you what's happening before you get those high blood sugars, before you get that high A1C. So if you're at 2.43, you're well above the 1.5. I would start looking at the fact that you're probably insulin resistant. All right. Okay. So, all right. So that's the wrinkling of the skin. Can you reverse it? You can reverse some of it. You guys, when I first started losing weight and got on the system, this little piece here under my neck was hanging down. I would call it turkey neck, and it literally moved as I talked. 2 years later, it's tighter, and it's not just because of weight loss. It's because of my skin structure between keeping the sugars down and doing some intermittent fasting, allowing cells to regenerate more normally in my system. Sugar attaching to your collagen is breaking down your collagen and your skin structure and allowing this sagging, wrinkling skin to start happening. So you want to get your skin health back. If you want to supplement with collagen, you've got to take it on the inside. It's not just something you put on the outside and your skin absorbs. You need it from the inside. Your cells are not going to get it from putting collagen on the outside. You need it on the inside. On my link tree, there is the collagen that I use. But then you also got to watch your sugars and keep your sugars down. Okay. So that's skin tags and wrinkling. Let's talk about those dark skin patches. And you guys are doing amazing chatting together here. So before we talk about dark skin patches, TCM, and you guys, walking after you eat is really important. I've talked about the fact that 25 to 30% of our mass is made up of muscle. But interestingly, per volume, our muscle uses up the most of our glucose. So keeping us muscles active, keeping muscles healthy and strong is important. It takes up about 80% of our glucose. So when we eat and that's converting into glucose, 80% of that can go to muscles. Your muscles can become insulin resistant too, especially if they're not active or if you're inundating them with too much sugar. Fruit smoothies, you guys, are sugar bombs. Okay, so stop doing that. Out of the 3 macros, there are 2 that are essential nutrients: fats and protein. You can get carbohydrates from protein. You don't have to have fruits and vegetables to get carbohydrates. Okay, so fats and protein are where you should be focusing. Now, with that though, I am a big believer in fiber and keeping your gut microbiome healthy. So my list is fiber first, then I focus on proteins, then I fill up with fats, and then if I'm hungry or want something, because I'm human, I will have carbohydrates then. Also do some intermittent fasting, allow your body to stop working off sugar all the time and move your body. Now, one of the best ways to become insulin sensitive is not just walking. That's great, but you need to do some weight-bearing exercise. You don't have to do the powerlifting exercises I used to do, but you do want to do some weight-bearing exercises. You guys, every year we're getting older, we're losing more muscle after those 30 years old, and it's harder to put it on every year after that. So you want to maintain the lean muscle you have. It's going to use up more glucose. It's going to help you through life much healthy, more to be more healthy. Now, understand that your heart, your liver, your lungs, your kidneys are all muscle tissue too. So protein is important to us. But if you're eating a ton of protein and you're not moving, it's maybe not the best idea. You've got to do that. So Ozempic causes things like Ozempic face, Ozempic butt. You're losing more muscle mass. When you're doing something like Ozempic, studies have shown that part of that weight loss, about 50% of that weight loss is actual muscle tissue. So if muscle is so important to keeping you insulin resistant, and you're just doing a shot called Ozempic, and you're losing some weight, you're also having sagging skin because you haven't addressed the fact that sugar is your problem, and you haven't addressed the fact that the root cause is this whole thing called insulin resistance. You're just taking a shot, which is causing you to lose some fat, it's causing you to lose some muscle, and it's shutting down your hunger artificially, and you're still taking in all the sugar and crap that you shouldn't. And then when you come off of it, then you're gonna be sick. And it's not an old wives' tale. Dr. Ben Bickman talks about it at length, and how damaging those drugs can be. There have been a number of lawsuits about the gallbladder. They're starting to have problems with the pancreas. I've had people on here telling me gallbladders is shot after those drugs, pancreas is shot after those drugs, thyroid is shot after those drugs, and now they're putting the weight back on. Yeah, there is a big lawsuit now. So it is not an old wives' tale, because how would there be this big lawsuit if it was an old wives' tale? By the way, you guys, I am not a proponent of those drugs. So if you are, I'm going to invite you to go to your own channel and talk about it there, or go to somebody's channel who is. We are not proponents of drugs. I'm a proponent of finding the root cause and more naturally dealing with your health from that way, because a metabolic issue is not caused by a lack of a drug. It won't be fixed by by adding a drug in. So, all right, we're going to talk about. So I'm not sure why you can't get it to open. I have gone to my own page. Let me go there now. So you guys, what she's talking about, if you go to my link in TikTok, and it's going to look a little something like, let's see. We're going to get back to the skin. And I just want to give you a warning. Anybody who's trying to argue with me about medications, I don't have time for all that today. I'm really trying to help people who want a better solution. So if that's your thing and you keep pushing it, we're just going to invite you to be gone by your own course or mine. So if you go to my profile and you see my picture, right below here are these red lights. You should be able to click on this link. Now the link is working. If you click on it, there it goes for there. And then if you're ordering the system, there have been some IT problems, but here it's opening up right now and it has my name at the top. So both links are working. It may be your own cache needs to be refreshed. You may need to restart your phone. Something like that is going on. You can come back to my profile, screenshot this, maybe come back. Yeah, it may be just your phone, but the links are working. I find that some of us, if you're like me, you're not probably not refreshing your phone as much as you should. Even my computer doesn't get refreshed like it should. So that could be the issue. All right. So you guys, that is where you're going to get the system I'm talking about. We're going to talk about a few things here too. With your skin and wrinkling there and some of these other issues, there's this problem with inflammation causing oxidation in your cells and cellular damage. One of the reasons I love the system is the tea that I drink every morning. I already have my tea hot. This is my second tea. You can see I spilled some when I mixed it up. But it has antioxidant effects in it, so it's helping with those free radicals and that oxidation in the cells, helping with wrinkles, acne, skin tags, acanthosis nigricans by addressing the insulin resistance. This stuff made your blood sugar go sky high, and you're an RN. So you should understand that this did not add to your blood sugar going sky high. But as you're starting to pull sugars out of your liver, out of your fat cells, where are those sugars going to go, Heather? They're going to go back into your bloodstream. So 30% or less of people may experience that, where now they're starting to dump these sugars that have been stored, and especially in the liver, and it has to go somewhere, and it's going to go back into your bloodstream. Now, is it the stuff that made your sugar go sky high, or is it the fact that you've been insulin resistant so long and you have a ton of sugar stored in your system? It doesn't just magically disappear. It's got to go somewhere, and it goes back into your bloodstream to be moved back out. So you should know that. Because what foods do I suggest? Because you're looking for a list. I don't have a list of foods, but let's talk about Thank you, Karen. Karen says Ozempic is horrid. She takes it for her diabetes. It's not a cure-all, and it has caused comes with a lot of side effects, right? So a list of foods. So you guys, let's talk about the foods for insulin resistance, and then we're going to go right back into the skin, okay? And we're going to talk about the system I use. So you want to do fiber first before you eat, every time you eat, especially carbohydrates, not so much with fats. But I have a fiber packet that adds at least 5 grams of fiber every time I eat, because why? It's helping it. This particular fiber goes into your gut, it swells up, it starts to make you feel full before you've even eaten if you drink it 10 minutes before. Now, when you do eat and you're getting these carbohydrates in, whether it's from raw fruits and vegetables, whether it's from packaged foods, whether it's whatever, breads, all of that, it's slowing down the absorption of the glucose into your bloodstream. So does it prevent all of the sugar from being absorbed? No, it doesn't. It slows down the absorption. So it's instead of taking like a Kool-Aid, sugar, water, and delivering it straight to your bloodstream, it's time releasing it. So now you're not having a huge spike of sugar, which doesn't cause a huge spike of insulin. It's been proven to reduce a blood sugar spike by 20% with bread. Like one of the highest glucose, one of the highest glycemic index foods there is, bread, this reduced the blood glucose spike by 20%. Now, so fiber first. It takes a variety of fibers. We're going to get into that. Then we're going to talk about proteins. Now, I know this is controversial and some people are vegan, and I support you in your choice. But let's understand this. Dr. Ben Bickman, I was listening to him, and this is what he has to say. He's very carnivore, not like carnivore diet carnivore, but he eats meat a lot. So what he said is this. When we have animals who are eating grasses and foods that we can't eat with nutrients we need, they're still absorbing it. They're getting it into their tissues. We do not have the same stomach structure as some of those animals. So when we're eating the meat from the animals, what we are getting is the benefit of getting the nutrients that we couldn't break down ourselves. So he's very much a proponent of meat eating, and red meat has been now. They were saying for a long time that red meat is so bad for diabetes, but so many studies have come out in the last year to 2 years that are stating how good red meat is for keeping you insulin sensitive. I will have to go back and watch that again because there's so much information trying to pack into my little brain. But there was a specific component that red meat or meats provide for your body. So meats are also, when we look at the 3 macronutrients, meats are the most satiating of those macronutrients. So fats are the next most satiating. Carbohydrates are the least satiating, mean making you feel fuller longer. Proteins also convert into about half as much carbohydrates as your carbohydrates do, or glucose as your carbohydrates do. Fats don't convert into carbohydrates or glucose. I'm getting my words confused. Glucose really at all. So they don't spike your insulin. And carbohydrates, of course, are going to convert into a lot of glucose in your system. Even though some of them may have some proteins, they're not proteins that are built in the way that our muscles, our bodies can use them because of our inner structure. So fiber first, prioritize protein, fill up with fats, limit your carbs. If you guys want to know all of that again, I wrote a short, simple ebook called 6 Simple Steps, and that is for free. And it's just go to my profile, click on that link, and find the free ebook and download that. That will tell you those foods in the order to eat. There is also a protein list in there from Dr. Jockers for whether you're carnivore, whether you're somewhere in between, or whether you're vegan. It gives you some good ideas of some proteins to eat. So you download that book and enjoy it. It's my gift to you. Okay. So that's where you're going to find the foods you should be looking at. So you're looking for a diet. I will tell you this. If you're looking for a diet, you can get, I might have to go get the book. The Why We Get Sick book from Dr. Bickman has a list of foods in the back that are good for you. I would get that book if you're concerned with your insulin resistance. It's probably one of the best books out there. Dr. Fung has a couple of cookbooks if you need foods. He has one called the obesity code and one called the diabetes code. There's a lot of crossover between the recipes, but get one of those if you need a recipe book. Dr. Bickman's book will give you a great list of foods, but it also goes over some of those medications we talked about and why they're not good for you, okay? Or what medications are doing what in your body. And he goes over statins and all of that. This does have a small amount of sucralose in it. So if you have questions about sucralose, ask. I'm going to tell you. Yeah. So with the explanation of your sugars going high when you're doing the system, what I would invite you to understand is that during that time, you may be somebody who needs to go super low carb and allow the sugars in your system to go out. If you're still eating a lot of fruits and a lot of refined carbohydrates and doing the system, and your body's trying to detox from those sugars, yeah, you're adding more sugar on top of sugar that's trying to be released. So you probably are going to need to go very low carb for a while until that starts to normalize. My sugar spiked a bit at first and during the fasting window, but within about 3 months to 6 months, those sugar spikes stopped, and now I don't have them anymore at all. But it's an indication of how unhealthy you've been and how dysregulated you are in being able to use sugar or switching to fat for fuel. If beef is grass-fed. So I would agree with grass-fed beef. And keto does work for most people, but getting in fiber and stuff helps as well. How drinking tea would elevate your blood sugar over 30 points while fasting. Because when you're fasting, so when we talk about metabolism, you guys, what we're talking about is how our body uses fuel. So we have glucose for fuel and we have fats for fuel. In the world that we live in now, we're eating every 2 hours. We're eating processed foods. We're eating foods that have been modified and manufactured, and those are all spiking our blood sugar constantly. When that happens, we have an over inundation of insulin. We eventually become insulin resistant. Now, when you're insulin resistant, what your body's doing, and somebody asked about, can your blood sugars be high? So we're going to go into a little bit of that. Most of your cells are saying no to insulin. And insulin is just a transport. So it's taking the sugar to your cells. And the cells are saying, no, I don't want any more. Some cells are like, yeah, woohoo, let's party. I'm going to take in all of that. And I've talked about a number of them. Keratinocytes, melanocytes, endothelium are some that take in way too much insulin. And then we're going to talk about those problems in a bit. We already talked about keratinocytes. So you have a blood glucose dysregulation problem. Then we're continually eating. So let's look at a timeline for fasting and why fasting is happening this way. So it takes about 4 hours after you've eaten for your blood sugars to really normalize. It can take about 8 hours after you've eaten for your insulin levels to finally drop. Now, an RN, okay, insulin is anabolic, glucagon is catabolic. Those are the two main metabolic hormones we're going to talk about. They're kind of like the yin and yang to each other. So one wants things to grow, one wants to eat things up. So if you can imagine in our body, we're going to prioritize the one that wants things to grow. Because if our bodies prioritized catabolism, it would just be eating everything up all the time and we wouldn't last very long. So of course our body's going to prioritize the anabolic hormone of insulin. It's not going to prioritize the catabolic hormone of glucagon. So that means that as long as insulin is out, glucagon cannot come out and do its job. But for most of us, we used to be able to switch between insulin, grow, and then we would have times that were lean and glucagon would come out and it would start to eat up some of the fat we stored, some of the other things going on, and we would have this metabolic flexibility. We don't have that, most of us now, because we're so driven by sugars that we're just grow. Now, at some point, you're not at some point. Your liver is probably the first place to become insulin resistant because it's taking on all the sugar. When you're looking at fruits, it's also taking on fructose. So fructose and glucose are both sugars in your bloodstream. The only organ that can process the fructose is your liver. So now your liver is getting fatty. Insulin resistance starts having you dump more of the sugar from your liver into your bloodstream, so you're constantly having the spike of sugar. But at the same time, insulin resistance is storing sugar in your fat cells. That's just energy to be used later. So those fats are breaking down back into glucose, and so that's going back into your bloodstream if you're trying to lose a lot of those. It's a phenomenon that doesn't happen for everyone, but it can happen for some people. So again, during this first part of getting your sugars under control, you probably have to go low sugar, low glucose at first to get those numbers leveled out, because maybe you are so insulin resistant that it's causing those numbers to be high. And then as you're releasing them from the liver and from your fat cells, then that's spiking the sugar back into your bloodstream. What carries the sugar around your body is the bloodstream. What's delivering it is the insulin. But if you're fasting and you're releasing those sugars from your fat and your liver, where's it going to go? So that can happen for some of us. So the tea does not cause an increase in that. The tea causes an increase in ketones, which are little messengers telling you to burn fat for fuel. So maybe if there's a lot of glucose in those fat cells, it could cause that. I don't know for sure, but I would connect those dots. But the tea also gives you antioxidant effects, anti-cancer effects, anti-inflammatory effects. So the tea is causing a lot of good when you're in the morning fast. It's helping your body be in this cellular turnover state. So I skipped a bunch of steps, right? So we got to insulin. 8 hours, your insulin starts to go down. That anabolic one wanting things to grow goes down. And then it takes about 2 hours after that for glucagon to feel safe. Like insulin is down, the bully is gone, can I come out and do my job? So insulin pokes its head out, or not insulin, glucagon pokes its head out and says, oh, okay, let's get to work here. A couple hours after glucagon goes out, your HGH, your human growth hormone, goes up. Your ketones go up. Your gut starts to do some cellular turnover and clean up. So now you're having all of this great effect, but that's at about hour 10. So then at about hour 12, that glucagon comes out. About hour 12 is when all of those HGH ketones and cellular turnover is starting to happen. So we want to give that time for that to work. So that's why we do a 16-hour fast, because at hour 14, you're really starting to have some fat burning go on, because now your ketones are up, which are just little messengers telling your body to burn fat for fuel, because we're no longer having sugar come in, we have fat. So now at hour 16, you break your fast. You start it with some fiber. 10 minutes before helps you feel full, slows down the blood sugar spike. So now you're not back in that cycle. So now instead of your sugars going like this, you're starting to have a more normal, lower, slower inundation, or my words are not coming out right, flow of your blood sugars. And keto does help, but not everybody can do keto. So berberine can help with blood sugars, yes. But what I'm talking about is in the moment. Using lumen, your blood sugar is higher. I'm in fat burn, low blood sugar, show carb burn, you're backwards. So that doesn't make sense. If you're using lumen, when your blood sugar is higher, okay, so if you're burning fat, again, you're releasing some glucose back into your stream. So your glucose may go up, your insulin may slightly go up, but if your ketones are continually up, it's continuing to pull fat out of your bloodstream, which is causing the fat burning. Insulin does not allow you to burn fat, but your cells are probably starting to use that glucose much better. So, and your muscles also have a backdoor for glucose. If you're fasting and you're active and the glucose level is going up, then it doesn't take your muscles don't always take insulin to deliver the glucose. They have a back door, and I can't tell you what that is. This is what Dr. Bickman has said. So there is another way into those cells if your muscles are active. All right, so let's get back to the skin. Can you have a keto diet if you have high cholesterol? Yes. So fats are not causing the cholesterol problem. Sugars are causing the cholesterol problem. I'll talk about that later this week. I want to get back to these other couple of skin things, and then we'll come back to this. So we talked about wrinkles earlier. We talked about skin tags earlier. I want to talk about those dark skin patches. Yeah, reread his book and read Dr. Fung's book, The Obesity Code, and let me know. But so also, Heather, I'm not sure if you're aware, Dr. Bickman helped develop these two products for metabolic flexibility and the regulation of insulin in the system. So you have in the diabetes code. So Dr. Bickman helped formulate both of these products. Dr. Bickman himself drinks this tea every morning, and he uses the fiber before he eats. So yeah, I would go back and reread that and see. And look, I'm just a normal person. I'm not an RN. I'm just trying to relate what I know and what I've learned from Dr. Bickman and those guys. But the tea, the only way the tea would, that I can think of that the tea would be causing a blood sugar spike is just those actions. So, all right, acanthosis nigricans or dark skin patches. My battery's going down on my phone and I don't have the charger here. But let's talk about that quick. So we talked about keratinocytes with your skin structure, right? The acanthosis nigricans, we're going to talk about melanocytes. It's a very similar process where insulin resistance, too much insulin in the bloodstream, some cells are saying no, fat cells are saying yes to a point, the liver is trying to deal with it to a point, but now the keratinocytes are taking up too much, your melanocytes are taking up too much. Melanocytes are what gives your skin color. So highly pigmented people have a lot more melanocytes. Less pigmented people have less. But insulin resistance is causing an overproduction of these melanocytes. Now you start to get dark skin patches around your neck, under your arms, in your groin, on your elbows, on your knees, any place where things may be rubbing. I've seen it around the ankles of people who wore those low top shoes all the time. So it's just an overproduction of those pigmentation cells in your skin. Now, when we talk about vitiligo, it's very similar but different. So now the insulin resistance in highly pigmented people is causing a dysregulation of that melanin. And so you're not getting enough melanin in some places and you end up with vitiligo. And most people with vitiligo have been found to also have insulin resistance. And they have found that by addressing the insulin resistance, the vitiligo gets better. The acanthosis nigricans. So underpigmentation, overpigmentation gets better by regulating the insulin, which means regulating the glucose. Okay, so I'm not a doctor, let's be sure about that. I'm just a normal woman who got sick. Rheumatoid arthritis is an inflammatory disease. Diabetes is the end stage of insulin resistance, and neuropathy are all linked in. I've gone over those. If you go to YouTube and look at Friday's, no, I wasn't live on Friday, Thursday's video, we talked a little bit about neuropathy. I'll say this. Insulin resistance causes a lot of oxidative stress in the cells. So now you're having inflammation. Autoimmune diseases are caused by inflammation in the body. So when you have that inflammation going on and the body perceives that your joints are dysfunctional, it'll start attacking the joints. You have rheumatoid arthritis. Get rid of the inflammation, help the arthritis. I had rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. They're both gone. As a result of those, I had 2 hips and 1 knee replaced. The other knee was supposed to be replaced 2 years ago, no longer needs to be replaced. And all I did was address my insulin resistance with the system I talk about. So We've gone over skin tags. We've gone over wrinkling. We've gone over acanthosis nigricans. I want to talk about psoriasis and eczema. Psoriatic people, they did some tests. And when they introduced insulin to people who had psoriasis and were obese, their blood sugar levels, their insulin, or they added glucose, they added glucose to these people. The ones who were obese and had psoriasis, their insulin spiked over 4 times that of a normal person. A lean person with psoriasis, their insulin levels doubled spike of what a normal person would have. So there's definitely a link, even though they don't know what causes psoriasis yet, a link between psoriasis and insulin resistance. Eczema is similar. We talked about skin, and so your skin is drying out. It's not getting the nutrients it needs. You're having inflammation go on, which is causing itching of the skin, thinning of the skin, and a number of other issues. So eczema, people with eczema have been tested to be a higher rate of insulin resistance than non-eczematic people. So there's a link between those two. There was one left. Not one left, there's many left, but acne. So when we have this inflammation in the skin, and it goes to hidradenitis suppurativa, like where you're getting the pimply skin in your sebaceous glands, and it can get really, I'm pointing to my underarms because most people get it in their underarms or in their groin. It all has to do with inflammation in your body. So let's talk about that. Insulin resistance causes a lot of inflammation. One of the things with the tea I drink, which is amazing, I was sitting here putting links together again, this has antioxidant properties in it. So when we're trying to get the insulin levels down, and we're talking about oxidative stress causing inflammation in the body, and we need those antioxidants to deal with this oxidative stress. This has a lot of antioxidants in it, and I drink at least 2 a day. It's really helped my skin health. I rarely have breakouts, any of that anymore. So it's hey Liz. So this tea, not only is it giving me mental clarity and energy, it's helping with all those skin issues through these actions of oxidative stress being reduced, the anti-cancer properties of the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties. So I drink a tea in the morning and a pre-meal drink before I eat anything, and that's all I've had to do really to address my insulin resistance. We've talked about a number of other things on this show, whatever this live, that all also relate to insulin resistance. The biggest key for me was getting my sugar under control, getting my insulin under control, and then my life started getting better. So I lost 50 pounds, my brain fog went away, fatigue, fibromyalgia, PCOS, hypothyroid, headaches, sleep apnea, all of that started to get better just by addressing my insulin resistance. How do you get the tea for rheumatoid diabetes? And so it's not just a tea, it's a system, Blue Baby. So if you go to my link up here, tap on that. When the white box comes up below, you're going to tap on that again. There will be a link in my profile right under the red lights. Click on that link. You'll get the system. That will link you to me, so I know you've ordered it. I will help you through it. You're going to get a 90-day money-back guarantee. You're going to get a low price guarantee, and you're going to get the coaching, and you're going to get the quality guarantee. If you guys go to Amazon, Walmart, eBay, none of those are authorized to sell, so you're not getting any of the guarantees, and you're not getting coaching. So, and you end up paying more. Most people that I've talked to have ended up paying about $100 more than they needed to for the whole system when they go there. So save yourself the problems. Sweet taste makes insulin spike. Yeah, I agree with that. But Heather, when we look at these things, there's a very, very small amount of sucralose in them that gives that sweet taste, because people just won't drink it without it. If we gave you the tea without that little bit of sucralose in it, you wouldn't like it. And there have been tests on this. So when, Heather, I've done tests on myself, and I talked to Dr. Bickman about it. So I was curious. And when I was first adjusting, because my ketones would go wild, right? When I was first adjusting, because that was showing how metabolically inflexible I was. if your ketones are going super high during fasting, you're just not metabolically regulated. But during a 7 and 10 day fast, about 3 days in, I start testing my ketones. I've been testing them all along. My ketones would continue to go up when I'm drinking the tea, even more than 1 tea a day. And when I asked Dr. Bickman about it, I said, in my mind, this means that my insulin levels are staying down because my ketones wouldn't go up if my insulin levels are up. Okay. So, you're right, though. If you're having something super sweet like a soda, and that could cause an insulin spike. How big of an insulin spike? I don't know. I don't have the papers. When I drank this during a fasting period, my insulin did not spike because my ketones spiked. My ketones would not be going up if my insulin was spiking. My ketones would go down if my insulin was spiking. Didn't happen when I drank this. Then the next time I did a long-term fast, I started wondering about this. So I'm like, well, I want my gut to get healthier. I know there's some autophagy going on that I'm probably going to slow down if I drink this fiber, but I really want to support the probiotics in my gut, and I really want to support my gut continuing to work even in that fasted state. So I had just the fiber during the fasting state. Again, my ketones went up. So if the ketone is going up, then your insulin levels are not spiking. If your insulin level spikes, those ketones are going to go down. That's the only answer I can give you based on what's happened with me. Yeah, okay. Oh, hey, Ro. Momer, you might have to reset your phone. Let me get the link and see if it will show up in here. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. My number I will put in as well. And then Ro, the grandparent day was good, but look, you guys, this is the interesting part. So they called it pastries with grandparents. So they had donuts, croissants, and blueberry muffins. So yes, I had a blueberry muffin sitting there with my grandson amongst all these other kids, and it was a beautiful time. He was so excited to have me come see his school. Not every parent got to go, but because my little is disabled and has some issues, we took his book bag back, and I was able to go to his classroom, and he was so proud to be able to introduce me to his teachers and stuff. It was a great moment. Like, I spend so much time with him, unlike other grandparents who don't get as much time with their kids as I do, but it was a beautiful, beautiful morning. Then he came and spent the weekend with me, and wow, just, that little boy is just such a loving, caring, sweet, but holy cats energetic boy. He wears me out sometimes. All right. So I hope the link showed up there. Then let's talk about, I'm not going to have time to get to it because I'm going to have to hop off here. But acne is linked to insulin resistance because of the inflammation. So if you're suffering, what I want to say with all the skin issues, and I have them highlighted up here, some of them, skin tags and melasma, getting your insulin under control will definitely help those, or acanthosis nigricans. Acne, psoriasis, eczema, they're very highly linked. Acne, some forms of acne are very much caused by insulin resistance. So get your insulin under control. Your skin will start to look healthier. Your wrinkles will start to rebound when you're not attaching so much glucose to there's my message that my phone's about to die. When you're not attaching glucose to that protein molecule of collagen, that's breaking down how the collagen acts, and that's breaking down how your skin holds up. So grandkids are, yeah, man, I loved my kids so much. Like, when my kids came into my life, I thought there's no way on earth I could ever love anyone as much as I love my kids. And then I started having grandkids. Holy cats. It's like an atomic bomb went off in my heart, and it just expanded so much. Grandkids, you guys, I cannot imagine the people who said they don't want to have kids because they want to go enjoy their life at 60 years old. Like, the joy and the experience I get from my kids and grandkids is unbelievable, like worth more than any bag of money could ever give me. Thank you, Ro. Heather, I hope it helps. And I don't know everything, guys. So when you guys have questions that I can't answer, I will definitely come back and try to get you a more in-depth answer. What you don't see on the backside is the hours I spend listening to guys like Dr. Bickman, Dr. Fung, Dr. Pradeep, Dr. Hyman, um, all of these guys, and I've started to find like the top metabolic scientists in the world and listen to them and their research. Now, Dr. Youn, it just happened that he came across my timeline talking about collagen, and I found it really interesting what he had to say because Dr. Bickman doesn't go into it very in depth in his book, but he links collagen and insulin resistance as well. Of course, how could he put everything in depth in that book? He can't. There's lots of references in it. So, you guys, I really appreciate it. What do you guys want to hear tomorrow? Before I hop off, I haven't talked about heart health for a while, and I love talking about that. What was the other thing I looked at this morning? Do we want to continue on with some aging things, bone and muscle health? Or so those are maybe the two choices for tomorrow. Do you want to hear about heart health, or do you want to hear about bone and muscle health tomorrow? One for heart health and two for bone and muscle. And I'll go get my mind prepared and hopefully bring you guys some good information. So give me a 1 for heart health, 2 for bone and muscle. Now, with that, okay, heart health. Bone and muscle, high blood pressure, 1, 1, 1, 1. So there are some 2s. Okay, so let's do this because I haven't talked about bone and muscle a lot. Let's do bone and muscle tomorrow, and I'll do heart health on Wednesday because a lot of the actions that are going on with the heart health can explain things like erectile dysfunction, like gout, like some of the edema and stuff you're having. So let's do bone and muscle tomorrow, and we'll do heart health Wednesday. And if you guys are interested, Heather's on the system, Rose on the system, Jeep Girl is on the system. You guys, I wanted to show you too, when we're talking about skin health, before I hop off, before my phone dies completely, I want to show you a picture of me before, just because I want you to see the difference in what happens when you address the insulin resistance. And it's not just about the weight loss, it's about the muscle health, the skin health, all of that. So again, we'll do bone and muscle tomorrow, heart health Wednesday. You guys, I appreciate you. If you're interested in the system and if you want me to coach you, just use my link up above. I dropped it in the chat on all platforms. But let's take a look at this picture. And I found this. I was kind of shocked, but it is what it is. And I love when I see things like this. And if you're on the system, I would love to get your story and be able to share it if you're up for it. So this was me when I started the system, and as opposed to now. So at 57 years old, this was me. And this is me at almost 60 years old, what you see on the screen now. And those of you who need to get a hold of me to order, there's my number scrolling across the screen down there. Write that down, and you can just text me, and I will get you the link. But that's the difference. And you guys, I don't have any major skincare routine. I'm really bad about those things. I have so many routines that I'm just trying to focus on, like the Feel Great system and trying to get back to exercise, but I don't do all the facial stuff and extensive products. I put a little bit of primer and some foundation on my face and some eyeshadow, and that's my lipstick, and that's about it. I don't do contouring. I don't do any of that stuff. But this is me with makeup on before, me with makeup on now. 2.5 years older, and all I did was address my insulin resistance. I didn't add any great skincare routine, any of that. And I hope that helps you understand. Plus, skin tags. I had dark skin rings around my neck, under my arms, in my groin, on my knees, on my elbow. At that time, none of those are present now. In fact, here's my elbow now. So there is no dark skin patches, no rough skin, any of that. All I did was address my insulin resistance, and all of that got better. Ozempic didn't give me that. Berberine didn't give me that. None of those things. And I tried. I didn't do Ozempic because I don't like medications. but I did a lot of the other natural sources and they just weren't working for me. The system that I talk about worked, and it worked so well that I'm here talking about all of the stuff to you guys now, because I was shocked when my doctors couldn't fix me, when my doctors couldn't figure it out, that this worked. And even my doctors were shocked. They were like, Misha, what did you do? We've been working on your blood pressure for 10 years and we could never get it down. Misha, how did you lose the weight? We've done, I did all things like crazy things that my doctors recommended, like the HGH, dropping my calories down to 500 calories, which probably damaged, which not probably did damage my metabolism more than it helped. So I don't restrict calories as in I don't count them and try to get them super low. I focus on nutrients, and that's what I want you guys to understand too. Focus on your nutrients first, nutrients first, nutrients first. Fiber first, prioritize protein, fill up with fats. Those three things are essential to your health. Get them in, understand how much that can do for your health. Stop eating for taste, start eating for nutrients, and you'll see your health change. The system helped me with all of that and the intermittent fasting. I see some messages, but let's see what happened. Okay, so I will see you guys in the morning. Bone and muscle health in the morning, heart health Wednesday. You guys will see you then. Thank you guys for the likes, the loves, the interaction, the just hanging out with me. I really do appreciate it. Now, look, I'm happy to be 60 now, whereas before I was afraid I wouldn't make it past 65 or 70. So give you 15 minutes each. Give us 15 minutes on each, the heart health and the bone health. The thing is once I get into heart health, there are so many questions that it will take up the whole hour. And then I'm assuming that with bone health, so we're going to talk about rheumatoid arthritis, we're going to talk about osteoarthritis, we're going to talk about sarcopenia, we're going to talk about how some of those things are worsened when you're doing the calorie restrictive diets. That's a whole hour in itself. So I'm going to have to break them up, but the information will be there. And I will try to do some videos on all the skin stuff and get them in a tab for those as well. But you guys, I appreciate you. I got to run because this phone's about to go, and we'll see you in the morning. Have a good one, guys. Bye, everybody.